Hello. Yeah, am I audible? Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Rahul Binoy this side. I'm your host for today, and I'm the event head representing ASMA. ASMA, as the name suggests, is India's leading community in academia, catering to a wide array of educational segments, ranging from higher education institutions, school educations, and preschools. Today's event will be majorly focusing on the admissions and marketing segments of higher education institutions. This series of Higher Education Innovation Summit has been a 3 months long journey. We started this series in the month of January. And since then, we have been engaging different higher education institutional speakers on board to discuss upon the various facets and the changing trends in the higher education segment. I'd like to thank our partner, No Paper Forms. Without them, this series wouldn't have been possible. And before kick-starting the panel discussion, I'd like to introduce all our eminent speakers we have in here today with us. Starting from Dr. Harivansh Chaturvedi, he's the alternate president, EPSI, and director, BIMTech. Then we have Mr. Vashisht. He's the head marketing admissions. He's the head marketing admissions and marketing at Maharishi Markandeshwar Mulana. Then we have Mr. Professor Anand Prakash Mishra. He's the associate dean at Jindal Global Law School and head of admissions law school, Jindal Global University. And then we have Mr. Dhaval Gaud. He's the director admissions and marketing and business development at Parul University. The moderator of this session is Mr. Vishal Tiwari, zonal manager at No Paper Forms. Mr. Vishal, I'm handing over the mic to you to take forward the conversation. Over to you.
Thank you, Rahul. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Rahul. And good afternoon to one and everyone. My name is Vishal, and I am the zonal manager representing No Paper Forms here. And I welcome all the esteemed panelists to our today's conversation, where we are talking about the corporate governed institutions, universities, and institutions, and how they are managing their marketing and admissions. So, a very warm welcome to our all the guests, those who have invested their time today and come here to discuss and know more how these institutions are managing their marketing and admissions. So, to begin with, we know that uh, the universities are the kind of there are total 900 plus universities in India, including private and public universities, and there are close to more than 10,000 standalone institutions and colleges in India, some of which are profit and not for profit. All of us would agree that as universities and institutions, the common responsibility and objective is of national building by imparting knowledge, skills, and give vision to the young generation. On the other hand, corporates are known for business acumen, aggression, quick adaptation to the ever changing demand of the industries to stay ahead of the curve. So, to begin with, let's try to understand how easy or difficult it is to manage admissions and marketing for these corporate governed institutions and universities. Do they experience ease and benefit of being backed up by a corporate working style? So let me get this question to Harivansh sir and Professor Anand sir from BIMTech, that what do they think about this?
I think uh, among the panelists, I think most of them are representing the corporate governed or corporate owned universities or institutions. And I also belong. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
So they have been managing their admissions for a long time. Many of the universities are new, and many of the universities and institutions are having legacy of several decades. So, for example, my institution started in 1988, and I joined as director in 1999. So, when I joined, that was the era when the institutions in our country, both corporate governed or run by some philanthropic organizations, not for profit body trust or societies. In India, only trust and societies can run institutions. So this is the legal issue. Please keep in mind. So they were running it, and marketing used to be mostly inserting advertisements, newspapers, and magazines, and simply by using their legacy and alumni network, they used to get admissions. There was not tough competition, intense competition, which is prevailing now. So I think now the time has come when India is having around 1,000 universities, as Mr. Tiwari was telling, and number of colleges is around 50,000, both governed by UGC and AICT. We take together the number. So these are the numbers, and 3.7 crore students are enrolled in higher education institutions. Within the next 10 years, this number will go to 8 crores. So with the increase of number of institutions, the competition has also intensified. And in this scenario, only those universities and colleges are able to survive which are managing their marketing and admissions professionally. Professionally means they are using technology, they are taking help from the experts or the companies or startups which are specialized in offering their services in automating the admissions or promoting the institution on social media. So, Mr. Tiwari, the moderator, is right that the corporate governed universities and colleges, most of them are running their admissions and their marketing and promotions very professionally. They are taking help from many edtech companies and also social media experts.
Thank you, Harivansh sir. Professor Anand sir, would request you to throw some light on this.
Yeah, very good afternoon, Vishal, and my respected senior colleague, Chaturvedi sir. I mean, we all learn from him, and we have other higher education leaders in this session. So, thanks to the ASMA and NPF and all the organizers who got us all together here. So the topic is very relevant when you talk about the corporate governed or corporate founded university, rather, I will like to say. In today's context, when almost 70% of higher education is in the private sector, is with private universities, unlike say 20 years back, when it was other way around, when majority of institutions, almost 80% of them were public institutions. And actually, most of us, people of our generation and even prior to us, are products of those public institutions. So, but I will like to, before I put my comments on the question you asked, I will be very candid with you. Being a student of law, I must tell you that a university or a school, any mainstream higher education institution, or for that matter, a school institution, they are not in any way a commercial enterprise or a trade or a business, or I will rather, in our university, we call it Office of Admissions and Outreach. We do not use the term marketing because of course, marketing is a great term in the field of management, but it's primarily used for goods and services which could be sold and bought in a market. And there are so many Supreme Court judgments, starting with and celebrated judgments like TMA Pai Foundation case, which was a 11-judge Supreme Court judgment. And even before that, the Mohini Jain's case, and so many Unni Krishnan judgments, so many Supreme Court judgments, and even High Court judgments, which have established that educational institutions, the mainstream educational institutions, are not commercial activity. They are not business. They are not even profession. And I remember one of the judges in the Unni Krishnan judgment, they said if we have to define as per Article 19, 1, and if we have to make education fall in one of the criterias like, uh, say, a profession, occupation, trade, or business, we will rather say it to be an occupation. So uh, I will be, and that is the reason why we do not use this term in the university context, because universities are and will remain institutions which are primarily for development of human potential in the society, and they cannot be commercial enterprise at all. And that is the reason why a university cannot be registered under the Companies Act. A university need to be set up under as a society, as a trust, and so are all the schools. Even a school, even Section 25 company is not there in higher education or school education. So our codes, our system, our statutes, our enactments, and even our constitution is very clear in this. Of course, for companies like ASMA or NPF or any company or corporation, the terminology is fine. Now, coming to a point, the corporate governed universities, a university is always governed by its statute, and the act is generally passed by either parliament or the state legislature. In case of private universities, for example, we were the first private university of the Haryana state legislature, the Haryana Private Universities Act, and we are governed by the Private Universities Act. So the corporate, in our case, for example, Jindal Steel and Power Limited is the company, and JSPL Foundation, which supported the university in its founding. But I will be very candid with you. There is no governance by the company in the university. University is governed by its own, bodies, by its governing body, by academic council, by executive council. And we are actually fortunate and blessed that way, that our chancellor, Mr. Naveen Jindal, you'll be surprised to know there is not even one seat where a student could be admitted except on the basis of merit in our entrance exam. There is no management seat, not one student can get admitted. So it's a pure, I will say, philanthropic initiative of Mr. Jindal. And we are not a corporate governed institution. It was corporate founded, I can say, in certain ways, when the initial capital to found the university was provided by Mr. Jindal as the chancellor and as the benefactor. So in true sense, those institutions which are founded by a strong corporate entities, certainly they have an advantage, they have an edge over other institutions, but it all be there only if the mission of higher education, the mission of university is clear. Only if the management of the companies, the management of the corporate entities are absolutely away from the day-to-day functioning And university is governed, or the higher education institution is governed absolutely by its own statutes, its own system. And that way I feel our university, we have actually received and enjoyed complete academic autonomy, financial autonomy, and all support from the the corporate body. But we are not run by any corporate body. It's absolutely, university is in its own, and the vice chancellor and the deans of schools and the professors and the bodies of the university run the institution.
Very, very interesting insight, Professor Anand Prakash sir. And I think that's an important point to note about OP General Global University, that despite being a corporate funded university, there is an autonomy that has been practiced to create human capital and contribute to the nation building. And a very, very important point highlighted by you, sir. Thank you so much. And this brings me to my next question, that we have seen that the corporate governed university or the corporate founded universities like OP Jindal, like BIMTech, like Ashoka, Manipal, etc. And there are many of others of that. So they're always ahead of the curve in all horizons that we observe. And be it brand building, or it's about the intake, or it's about the outcome of the students, that kind of this kind of education we impart to the students, and they're always ahead of the curve in all the aspects. So wanted to understand what are the key aspects that a corporate funded university or a corporate governed university like you all are managing, or practicing, that keeps them ahead of the curve as compared to all other universities who are sometimes lagging in those aspects. So maybe Vikrant sir, and then maybe Anand Prakash sir and Harivansh sir and Dhaval sir can contribute. To begin with, Vikrant sir. So you're on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Vishal. Thank you very much. And first of all, very good afternoon to all elite panelists. I am Vikrant from Maharishi Markandeeshwar University, Mulana. I am heading their outreach department. Although we don't have a corporate institution, but still there are few sister concerns in which we are stakeholders or shareholders. As far as this particular aspect is concerned, we must understand first of all the dynamics of the relation between corporate industry and educational institutions, especially professional educational institutions. What company or the corporate requirement is, they want skilled and very, very knowledgeable and with the right attitude person or professionals for their company. Now, here plays the role of higher educational institutions, where we are majorly focusing on three things. First is particular knowledge, domain knowledge. Second is to develop the particular set of skills which is in coherence with the industry requirement. And third thing is to develop the higher order qualities and behaviors which can take us as well as our student to the progressive society, or we can take our country as well as our university, so that they can become the brand ambassadors for that. Now, as far as results are concerned, we try to inculcate all those skill sets which are prevalent during the present time and in future, at least for the next 30 to 40 years. See, like nowadays, students are very much interested in learning AI, in big data science, And there are other streams in medical side also, like neuroinformatics, like cardiovascular technology, dialysis therapy, or the other few other specializations in biosciences also, like biotechnology. And trends are for mechatronics also, robotics. So these are the courses in which students have a better future, and companies are expecting, the corporates are expecting such kind of skilled and innovative man force to be provided by these institutions. So as far as my concern, I would like to say that to create and develop a skillful manpower, innovative manpower, and that with that particular entrepreneurship kind of blend, that is very, very important for us, even for at the level of country, and even in order to meet the global standards. So this is my particular viewpoint regarding this right now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think I'd like to take this question to MS Kohler, sir, who is Director Marketing and Branding for KLE Technology University. Mr. MS Kohler, sir, what is your opinion on this? I'd like to repeat the question that we have observed that corporate governed universities generally stay ahead of the curve as compared to the other universities. So what are those key factors that other universities should learn, whether it is about putting these universities in terms of brand building, or about their performance, how delivering the student quality and staying ahead of the curve. So what are those aspects that other universities can learn, which corporate funded or corporate governed universities are able to do and are able to achieve? MS Kohler, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Sorry for delay. So the first of all, what the corporate governed universities are doing is the time-bound activities. Time-bound activities must, when compared to the other universities like professional, run by the central universities, they are not maintaining the time. Time is the money nowadays. So we can, and right set of people. The right set of people can be the main, success story behind that. So we have to identify the people and the team and the technology what we are using. That's what I can say about the corporate funded universities as well as the central government or any other government funded universities.
Thank you, sir. So I take 2 points. Time-bound activities and the kind of technologies that you use makes a difference what corporate governed universities are doing in terms of putting themselves aside. Maybe we can, Harivansh sir can, and Professor Anand sir can contribute to this. That what are other aspects that one should consider to stand apart in terms of placing the brand building or delivering to the nation building and the human capital creation.
Should I start?
Yes, sir.
So, first of all, I would like to make my stand on this categorization of universities. Of course, there are differences between public and private universities. Among the private universities, there are two types of private universities: state private and deemed university in our country. And in public universities, we find the central public universities and state public universities. So these are the broad classification of universities in our country. And relatively, the universities run by trust and societies which are a CSR arm of a corporate entity like the Jindal Steel and Power Group or BK Birla Group, Aditya Birla Group or Tata Group or Mahindra and Mahindra Group. So there are corporates which have founded universities and institutions. I think the oldest institution is Indian Institute of Science, which was started more than 100 years back by Tata Group. And this is one of the prominent research-oriented university of our country. Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. So I want to make this this condition with my argument that even a public university can do very well if it is provided a true or good leadership, and the leader believes in professional way of running a university rather than bureaucratic way of running a university. Even a private university run by a business enterprise or a corporate entity can be run unprofessionally. So there is no rule that a private university owned by a corporate will always be professional, or a public university will always not be professional. It depends upon the wisdom of the leadership and the vision of the university. And vision is provided by the owners, leaders, and the stakeholders. Many universities in our country, they do not have the clear vision, both in public and private sector. But universities which are having a clear vision, a dedicated, involved leadership, they are surging ahead. For example, Banaras Hindu University is a central public university. Jawaharlal Nehru University is a central university, public university. Jamia Millia is a public university, central university. They are doing very well in research, in teaching, and institution building. Similarly, in private sector also, there are good number of universities. OP Jindal is one example. And when Government of India devised a scheme of declaring 20 institutions as Institute of Eminence, there were 10 from private sector and 10 from public sector. And now the government is saying that they will increase its number within 5 years up to 50. But I do not say that only institutions of eminence are the only good institutions. So I would like to say that a good university should have a vision. The leadership should be dedicated, committed. And third is that its approach towards admission should be marketing or customer oriented. Here students, some people say students cannot be treated equally with customers. My friend Misraji was saying that their university is not using word marketing. Even when I joined as director BIMTech in year 99, my predecessor, who was a legend in education, Dr. late C.V. Gupta, has been principal of Sriram College. When I used to do some activities for promoting the brand building and marketing, he used to say, what is the need of marketing? If we are good, the whole world will follow us. And he was a legend. I compared to him, I was a minion, because his feet were touched by people like Arun Jaitley, who later became the finance minister and powerful politician of the country. He was a very respected person, and he was from the old world, that if the quality is good, then you should not worry about the marketing. But I think within 20 years, there has been a transformation at global level, at national level, and every college, every institution, even government is forced for using social media. No political party, no government can survive without using the social media. All professionals in medical science or in film industry or cricketers, they all need to develop their personal brand. When individuals professionals require personal branding, every college or university require brand building. Number two, using marketing. Marketing is a misnomer, Misraji, that marketing is done only for profit. The Philip Kotler, the grand scholar in marketing field, he has written a book on marketing for non-profit, marketing for not-for-profit 30 years back. So even voluntary organization like UNICEF, or in our country, hundreds and thousands of voluntary organizations, civil society, they need to collect funds. How can they collect the funds? They are not for profit. They collect funds by using marketing, by using brand building. So I think brand building is not a negative word. It's a positive thing. Because brand building means how people, the users should differentiate your brand from others. There are 1,000 universities. How OP Jindal University should be distinguished from other 999 universities? This is brand building. For that, you need to promote that brand, you need marketing. And Third is factor is technology. At every level of working of the university, you need to use technology, because the generation which is coming to the university, they will not appreciate anything which is slow, sludgy, and non-functional and manually things used to be done earlier. For example, for vaccination, I went to a hospital and they were manually taking entry from the Aadhaar card or PAN card, and it was taking 1 hour for getting a vaccination for one person. So this type of working in a university, be it private or public, students will not accept. They have many options. If you do not deliver the good teaching, and also I want to caution that earlier university used to highlight their infrastructure. The infrastructure used to be important in 70s and 80s and 90s. Now the important is intellectual capital, brand of the university, the governance of the university, and most important is faculty, which creates the difference. So I conclude by saying that you need intellectual capital, you need technology, and without lubricant of marketing or brand building, nothing can work.
Thank you, Harivansh sir. Professor Anand sir, Harivansh sir just mentioned about technology, about brand building, and having a proper academic strength. Any more factors that you feel is important that differentiates corporate funded universities or governed universities to stand apart and make a different space in the industry? Probably as a learning which other universities can take it from here, or something that is differently practiced at OP Jindal University.
I mean, agree with Dr. Chaturvedi. Marketing, brand, they all are absolutely positive terms. Being a student of law, what I believe, the character of our universities, what has been defined by the Supreme Court orders and even by a statute and Indian Constitution, we should keep that in our mind while we are communicating on behalf of universities. And that is why even the universities abroad, the leading universities like Harvard or Oxford, Cambridge, if you see their offices, they all use the term outreach or, something different from the term sales and marketing, which are used primarily in the goods and services business. So, I mean, leaving that apart, if I come to your main question, there is a lot to learn from the corporates by the universities. So I remember when I joined OP Jindal Global University in 2011, a lot of policies, particularly related to human resources, to HR and finance and use of technology in the university and a lot of things, they were deeply inspired by the company JSPL. And that helped a lot in providing a superior system at the university. So there is always things to learn if we want to improve the efficiency and working of universities. Using the old age, the government university model or public university model in today's world of, I will say, premier private higher education, not just in India, but around the world. In the United States, if you look at the majority of top institutions, they all are private university, be it Harvard or Cornell or Columbia or most of the institutions, they are actually private universities. And slowly in our country also, starting with, of course, Indian Institute of Science, but I will say even institutions like BITS Pilani and BIT Mesra and even Tata Institute of Social Sciences and many other institutions which were established many decades back. They did great work in the field of higher education in different areas, primarily because the culture they brought with them was also the culture of the corporation, the company they belong to, and they learned a lot how to run the institution more efficiently, whether it was usage of technology or other areas. So it's always helpful.
Great. So Anand sir, this is important point that I see, that because this is corporate governed universities and corporate funded universities, do you mean to say there is a lot of learning that an corporate governed university draws from the parent corporate, the structure, the working style, and other.
Visalji, if
G.
you do not mind, I would like to suggest that please do not use corporate governed university, because legally, as Misraji has also highlighted, that
Okay.
legal entity of the owner of a university cannot be a corporate. Only two kinds of legal entities are allowed: trust or society. You better you use the second word, that is corporate funded. So funding by corporate. So it should be owned by a trust or society. They cannot directly, a company cannot own higher education institution, as has been said by the legal luminary in our panel, Professor Misra, that Supreme Court has clearly stated that education in our country from school to higher education should be not for profit. So this is a legal issue only. Please do not mind it.
No,
Use the
sure,
second.
sir. Thank you. I'll take this point and that as a learning with me. Sure, sir. So that's one point that we learned from the conversation by Anand sir, that a lot of learnings can be drawn from the parent organization, which can be incorporated and can be useful and beneficial for running the institution and universities at the level. So from that, I want to move on to my next question, that I feel that corporate funded universities have an edge, and they can envisage what kind of skills are required for the industry and can possibly accommodate that in their curriculums or trainings by industry consultations. So to achieve that, you must be looking at candidates with some basic qualifications and skill set upon which you can work and make them industry ready. So my question is, how do you ensure that right set of inputs and right quality of students are attracted towards applying your institutions? So maybe Harivansh sir, and then later we can ask from MS Kohler sir and Dhaval sir.
Can you repeat your question?
Sure, sir. So my question was, so since corporate governed universities have an edge to understand what kind of industry requirements is, and they are very connected with the learnings of the industry, and they want to, provide a human capital to the industry, because actually these universities are also a raw, they kind of have, they are raw materials to the industry. Basically, we kind of attract the pool, the students, and then deliver it to the industry. So since we come up with that corporate learnings and experience, and a lot of curriculums are designed in that way. So my point was, how do you ensure that the right set of inputs and the right quality of students we attract towards the institution, so that we are able to, deliver to the industry and stay ahead of it?
I think, in spite of the legal limitation that a university or college should be owned by a trust or society, this is also a bare fact that all universities and colleges are striving to provide manpower to the industry or to the government or to the society. So people take admission in a university and college, and parents invest their hard-earned money for making their children engineers, doctors, managers, scientists, or civil servants, to ensure that their future career is ensured. They are able to succeed in their life, and it is a question of ensuring a livelihood. So I think the university and colleges owned by industries, they are very clear about that what kind of manpower is required by the industry. So this is one major fact. And the board of any college or university funded by the corporate sector, they have eminent people drawn from industries as well as from public life. So if the board is functioning properly, then it is an asset to the advice given by the board. So any decision about the running of the university and college is debated, discussed, deliberated in the board, where the eminent people having vast experience in the industry, they are sitting. Number one. Number two, you will find that all universities and institutions funded by the corporate sector, they believe that it is not necessary that only academicians should be the teacher. They have this faith that the practicing faculty should also be there. You will find that in BITS Pilani, when it was started in 60s, G.D. Birla ji was the founder, and the partnership was forced with MIT, USA. So there was a concept of practice school. There is a school in the university which is called practice school, where 6 months training every student has to undertake in an industry, and many professors were drawn from the industry. Similarly, my institute, we have 30% faculty, they are not PhD, but they have 30, 40, 50 years experience at the level of CEOs and CXO. And after completing their inning in the industry, they have decided to contribute in building the manpower for the future. So I think this advantage all corporate funded university and institutions have, that they bring the best practices, as Bisraji was saying, best practices from the industry, like having HR policy. In earlier, when the traditional method of governance was going on, the best practice of industry were not followed in the universities and colleges. And it was simply the model given by the Britishers that a university should be governed by bureaucrats or statutes. And I have been a student in a public university, and I can give you many examples how poorly managed our public universities. But I put a rider, some of the private universities are also managed non-professionally. So I would like to conclude by saying that the best practices from the industry or from the government or from the civil society, even like Akshay Patra serving food very efficiently in our country, it's a voluntary organization, and there has been cases written about the Akshay Patra example. There is a example of Jaipur Raqs. There is a voluntary organization in Rajasthan which is giving livelihood to more than 30,000 poor women. So there are good examples, and all those best practices from industry, from government, from NGO, from multinational companies are being used in running a university or a college.
Thank you, Arivan, sir. That's indeed a great insight. And with that, I want to move to MS Kohler, sir, on this question, that how do you, in terms of attracting the pool of applicants for various courses, and as a university, how do you ensure that the right set of candidates apply and the quality of the pool, the candidates, is ensured, so that you are able to create students, or the students who are ready to go ahead with the industry, and they can consume that knowledge and skills that we want to impart as an institution and serve it to the society?
I take points from Chaturvedi sir. Curriculum plays a major role here, because people who are setting the curriculum, because they know the need of industry. I'll just take an example of our university, Gailey Tech University. Most of the eminent people from industry, like Samsung or Infosys or Robert Bosch, they come and set the curriculum for us, for our students, and our students learn that. Like they are aware that what is the need of industry, and what student has to learn, so that they will be, when they complete their degree, they'll be industry ready. So attracting right people and curriculum plays a major role. so that we can attract more students with our curriculum and promoting your curriculum, because most of the other universities, I can say, centrally funded universities, they don't change their curriculum, they don't revise their curriculum regularly. But revising our curriculum on regular basis, like maybe once in a year or twice, 2 years in one side, like that, it is going to help us. This is my opinion.
Thank you, sir. I would like to also invite Dhaval sir to share how through Parul University as a practice, or how in a university can, what are the practices that we can ensure to have build a right kind of student ready for the industry. Dhaval sir, if he's just.
Yeah, good afternoon, Vishal. That's a
Thank you, sir.
very interesting question you have posed at me. So, when we talk about the students getting industry ready, as a student, when I was learning in my college, I studied from public university.
I think we lost voice. Dhaval sir, I think we lost your voice.
There are at least 100 to 200 private universities in India, which I am aware that they are having a special cell only to take care of industry and academia relationship and to bring the modifications in the syllabus, whether it may be if there is a scope or an opportunity for industry or the university to bring something into the syllabus which is going to help the industry to grow. I think they will not leave any stone unturned for that. I would just like to quote a recent example of.
Hello. Dhaval sir, I think we lost your voice.
Yeah, I'm audible. The internet problem, so I'm really sorry for that.
Sure, sir. Now you are, please.
Yes. So as I'm talking about that, there are many companies, as Gujarat is an entrepreneurial state. We have very healthy placements at our university, and we have a dedicated training and placement cell which takes care of it. And now we have also started with industry partnership programs. Let me quote an example that if we have computer science and engineering, we have tied up with Microsoft, we have tied up with Red Hat, we have tied up with many organizations to have a customization in the final year of syllabus, which has really helped us to increase the students' level of understanding. Like 5 years back, if I would just like to talk about 5 years back, when the students used to face interviews in placements, while the placements, we used to the placement like the HR team of the company used to give us the feedback that your students are not yet ready for this level. Let's say they are not ready for that level. So what ultimately happened that in the past 5 years we have worked in synchronization with most of the HR teams, and we have tried to identify the problem what the industry is facing, and we have really worked on those problems, and we have got the results, and they are really very encouraging. Whether it's in the area of information technology, whether it's in the area of civil engineering, whether it's in the area of electronics, we are successfully able to replicate the entire planning what we did. And the best part about the corporate governed university is that when we have a planning, it goes to the implementation stage very fast, and from implementation then we reach to an ROI, what we did with the entire project. So, compared to public universities, the private universities have an advantage. They are ahead of the curve in terms of implementation of things, even budget allocation. If I would like to bring to your notice that every project is governed by the budgets. So, even if you talk about the budget allocation, it is very easy for us to get the budget compared to public universities because it goes through a lot of bureaucracy. Wherein, in our case, in private university or a corporate governed university, is very easy to convince the panel members, the board of directors, that X amount is required for such kind of project, and they immediately approve it. The other advantage what corporate governed universities has is the young leadership. Currently, if I talk about most of the universities, or if I talk about my own university, our leadership is very young. The president of the university, Dr. Devanshu Patel, is of the same age. I think he's almost of 36 years of my age. And at this age, he belongs to a medical professional. And as a medical professional, when he started taking care of the leadership at the university level, he started from the administrative department. So he got to know about the ground challenges of the university, and gradually over a period of time, he developed that attitude, that flair, that things have to be changed now. We cannot go with the old leadership styles. So somewhere I feel the leadership style, as Dr. Harivansh Chaturvedi sir mentioned about it, that the leadership does matters a lot. As a university, we are very young. We just become a full-fledged state private university in 2015, but over a period of 5 years, we have a 56 nationalities from across the world. We have more than 28,000 students. We have already have an MBBS college, and this year we are starting PG programs. So, in my 7 to 8 years of journey with this university, I have grown in leaps and bounds. And I would rather say that still there are many more things to do. Talking about the industries, earlier we had even to find 100 companies to come for placement was a challenge. But over a period of 5 years, now we have 4 to 500 companies, and after collaboration with the government, because even government is very much active in the area of placements because of their own very good reasons. However, it has really helped as an university to collaborate with different organizations, and we are bringing the best placements for our students. And in fact, we recently organized a job fair in collaboration with Government of Gujarat for all the students who are studying in the different universities of Gujarat. So I would like to conclude saying that industry academia relationship, if it is worked upon and it is being taken by a good team, then definitely it can yield excellent results, and it will definitely improve the quality of the students, which are, and they will be always readily accepted by the industry in the placements. So thank you very much, Vishal.
Thank you, Dhaval. So, in fact, it's an interesting observation that you have shared, and practices that a growing university should run in terms of balancing or creating the right set of students for the industry and establishing cells that take care of all these aspects while they are delivering the quality, the education, to make sure that they are ready for the placements or they are ready for the industry. Great, sir. So, also, sir, next question that I wanted to ask is maintaining diversity. Usually, when we're talking about today, we were focusing around the corporates usually focus on creating diversity, whether it is demographic or geographical diversity, while they're building their people and their teams. Do you think the same kind of focus is there for universities, and especially when we are talking about universities like you and other corporate funded universities? Is that a focus, and how are we able to track that, and how are we able to achieve those aspects?
Okay, that's a really very niche question what you have asked me. I would rather like to share this by starting my journey. When we started our journey of international admissions or admissions, like we were trying to adapt the corporate strategies, we used to follow the leading universities of India. I would rather not be shameful to name them. One of them was Lovely Professional University, Chandigarh. And even I used to follow OP Jindal for the North American markets. So, the best strategy for a young university like us is to go for a case studies And as a management student and with electronics background, it was very easy for me to go online and to search. I used to follow them, many of their decisions which I used to see. So I would rather say that that has really helped me to bring in the changes, bring in the developments to this university. And talking about the diversity and like geographically, if I talk about, yes, today at the university we have students from almost all the states of India. And in addition to states of India, we have students from 56 countries. So this kind of amalgamation has bring in a very vibrant culture at the university, and it has really helped us to understand the different requirements. From a we have totally become a student-centric university, I would rather say. And when we talk about now, as a director, I feel that it is not less than a service industry. Education industry, if you talk about, it's like a service industry. So recently, when we had such a diverse nationals at our campus, we identified that there were so many advantages when students from Karnataka is in conversation with a student from Assam, and student from Gujarat is in touch with student from East like Kolkata, and students of all the 56 nationalities, including like students from Germany, students from Mongolia, students from South America. I mean, that's an interesting amalgamation. When you bring them on a common platform, you provide them a platform through clubs, through debates, through cultural practices, what we have at the campus. They really bring out the best among them. And this diversity has really helped us to increase our branding, our presence in Western India particularly. And in years to come, this year, in spite of pandemic, we had a very good number of admissions. We have grown compared to our past year. And it has really given motivation to us to further strengthen and to work on our weaker points. And it has also led to different kind of other universities in the states. We have close to 76 universities in Gujarat, and recently the government of Gujarat last year launched a program called Study in Gujarat. So it was following the Study in India program what we have at the national level. So in Study in Gujarat, we got it was an added advantage for a university like Parul, who was already into international admissions from 2013. So it has already added numbers to the university. But other than the numbers, I would rather say it has also added a lot of quality to the education what we are providing, because it has created a pressure on the existing ecosystem. And it has we have stretched our limits, and now we get to know, okay, wherever we have reached, that's not going to be enough for us to still develop the thing. So it helps us to really bring the best out of us. Talking about the faculty recruitment, even we have started recruiting the professors and lecturers from different states of India. We have also hired one professor from UK. I mean, we are going on an international hiring now, and this gives us a tremendous motivation that if you really have a good leadership, and these advantages are easily available when you are a corporate governed or a private university compared to public universities, as we don't have to face a lot of bureaucracy. And obviously, as a corporate governed university, we run through ROI, return of investment. And fortunately, so far in my 8 years, since the day I started this establishment of international admissions, I am successful in keeping the things in green rather than red. So I feel that in days to come, all campuses, I think even OP Jindal is very active for this. MMU, I know Mr. Vikrant Vasish is adding good number of diversity and nationalities. And about the other universities, I'm sure there are days to come, they will add diversity. So according to me, adding diversity within the India and outside India is only going to add the quality, is going to improve the services, and it is overall going to improve the student satisfaction index, which is the need of an hour. So thank you very much, Vishal.
Thank you, Dhaval sir. Interesting conversation. I would also like to invite and learn from Professor Anand sir that how do they focus on creating or focus on geographical and demographic diversity, and how do you ensure that this is maintained, whether it's about geographical or demographical diversity for OB Jindal?
Uh, Thank you, Vishal. See, diversity is a very important aspect of education. Unless our campuses are diverse in all terms, uh, be it geographical diversity or gender or, you know, even economic diversity on all parameters, it can't ensure a holistic education and I will say complete learning for the students. So we are fortunate that way that our university was established as a global university. The vision was always to be an international institution within Sonipat, within the LNCR. And from the very beginning, faculty members were recruited from different countries. Today, we have some 25 countries nationals who are actually teaching on full-time basis at our university in different programs, different schools. And we have even recruited professors who have taught in places like Stanford University and Harvard University on a regular and long-term basis, who chose to come and teach in Sonipat in our campus. And some of them are serving for more than 5 or 8 years. So we brought diversity in multiple ways. One was through bringing faculty members from around the world, but also through diversity in a student body by getting students admitted from almost every state and union territory of the country. You will find a student from Andaman to a student from Jammu and Kashmir, and from Tamil Nadu to almost every state, every union territory is represented in our student body. And now we are getting a good number of students even from abroad, those who are, I mean, either from Middle East countries or those who are even done their schooling in the United States, in the UK, in many other places. Of course, most of them are Indian origin students, but they are, when they think about studying law, they are coming to our law school and our university. A recent trend which has happened in last 3-4 years is a lot of graduates of world's leading universities in the United States, in UK, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in Australia, after completing their first degree, a BA or a BS or a bachelor's in business, uh, they are coming to, when they think about making a legal career, when they think about studying law, they are joining our law school in our 3-year LLB program, which is a postgraduate program. So some of them have come from even universities like National University of Singapore or Boston University in the US or University of Massachusetts Amherst, a lot of UK-based university like Leeds and Warwick and Queen Mary University London and London School of Economics. After completing their first degree, they are coming to study in our residential 3-year LLB program. So I think once the university is clear with the academic standards that they have to be world class, and it doesn't compromise with the quality of teaching, learning, and the faculty particularly, the faculty attracts the student. And I believe if one of the most important foundation to have diversity in terms of attracting students from around the country, around the world, is to attract the finest faculty members to your campus to come, reside, to stay and teach. So our university actually provides accommodation to each and every faculty member who join the university, and takes care of their all other needs so that they could be staying on full-time basis on campus and teach. And a lot of foreign faculty members are also invited and retained that way. So that is very, very helpful. If we can diversify our faculty, we can also diversify our student body. I have seen in many universities that the faculty recruitment is very localized. If say there is a university in Maharashtra or there is a university in Uttar Pradesh, they will recruit all the faculty members from universities nearby, or the same regional area. Then they don't even try to get faculty members from, say, good Indian institutions like University of Delhi or JNU or other public institutions in Delhi, or from institutions around the country. So that is not a good approach, I believe, for any university or higher education institution.
Thank you, Anand sir. We talked about bringing the students across the world to India and creating diversity. Talked about. Aligned to this, we have a question from one of our viewer, Mr. George Abraham, to all the panelists. And maybe I would like to, I'd request you to share your view on this. So he says Triple IT Delhi has announced its interest to set up a campus abroad. What are the views on this from the speakers? So, sir, what are your views on this? So we talked about creating diversity and bringing in people from different parts of the countries to India and creating diversity. And here we are talking about going to different countries and setting up campuses. So what are your views on this in this kind of setups?
Whom you are asking?
Sir, maybe Professor Anand sir, but maybe Sir Harivansh sir, you can pick it up this, and then Professor Anand sir.
I am in favor of a good Indian institution, and good means really good. And for example, top institutions coming in the list of NIRF or Institute of Eminence, they should be allowed. And EPSI has been demanding it for the last 10 years. Ultimately, it has become part of the new education policy, national education policy. And if the universities of US or France, like the INSEAD, very famous B School of France, they can come to Singapore and set up their campuses. And if the foreign universities can come from UK and Europe to Dubai, and very interesting development is the UAE government has developed a knowledge village, means ready to shift to premises, and they offer to foreign universities, of course not free, and they could bring several foreign universities from Australia, Britain, and other European countries. Similarly, Singapore. So I think that Indian good institutions like IITs, IIMs, like OP Jindal Global, like universities, Parul University or Mercy Markandesh University, they can go, they can set up their campuses, they can compete with other global universities. And if they are really good, definitely they will be able to survive in foreign markets. That will give an edge to the Indian brand of higher education. So I'm in favor of this, that IIT, you are
IIT Delhi. Yes,
IIT Delhi.
Yeah.
Okay. So IIT Delhi is all capable to set up a campus, to run it, and to bring the good name for India's higher education.
Thank you, Harivansh sir.
So, Vishal,
Yes, sir. Yes, Professor.
HRD has already notified that all the institutions of eminence, they are allowed to set up campuses anywhere in the world with minimal, I will say, minimal formalities involved with the ministry. The only thing is how prepared we are as a university, as institutions, because the resources which are needed, particularly in foreign countries, the kind of institutions which exist in the international markets, those who are like developed countries particularly, the resources are like they are very, very well endowed and rich institutions. So unless we develop some expertise in a particular area in a way where we are like one of the best in the world, like an IIT is, we can't afford to think of setting up campuses abroad, because competing with, say, in Singapore, If you see institutions like National University of Singapore or SMU or those kind of uh, uh, institutions, it's not easy. So our law school this year has got into a top 100 law schools of the world in the QS World University Rankings by subject. And I could see one of the, audience questions. They asked about why there are so few universities in QS rankings or any global rankings. For a long period of time, we actually avoided it. We were not serious about it for a long period of time. If I remember, even at Jindal, we started thinking about any rankings, I think after 2016. Initially, we were a new universities, but our traditional and old universities then never bothered about it primarily. Now they are thinking about it because now even Ministry of HRD is bringing it in focus. Now Ministry of HRD is recognizing QS rankings and Times Higher Education rankings in their official documents. If you look at the institution of eminence guidelines, the government of India is recognizing the international rankings for the purpose of Indian universities, and even maybe in future for allocating budget and those things. So there is a significant policy shift which has happened in last 5 to 10 years, I will say, where Indian institutions are trying to compete globally. Uh, uh, Even personally, if you ask me, I have been a keen observer of the law school rankings globally. In 2012, for the first time, QS brought a list of 50 law schools, and there was no chance for India. Till 2019, none of the Indian law school was in global rankings. In 2020, for the first time, Jindal Global Law School and National Law School of India University, Bangalore, were ranked in top 200. And this year, it's only Jindal Global Law School which finds a place in top 100 or top 300 law schools in the world. So it's a very, very competitive place. You are not competing with Indian institutions, and particularly the research output should be world class. And our good public institutions have serious crisis in terms of faculty recruitments, in terms of even research output. I'm talking about humanities, social sciences, and law. uh, Not enough investments have been made by the government in higher education that way. Our, investment in higher education or the budget allocation has always been very low if we compare it with, and at the same time, till the year 2000 or even before that, no university was allowed to set up in private sector. I mean, these private universities law, they came much later. So earlier route was the deemed university route, where some institutions were declared to be deemed to be universities, but the private universities themselves came much later. Now imagine if private universities were allowed in 1950s or 60s, by this time we might have our own, I will say, something like typical American private universities, which are like the best in the country. So in chosen areas, I think our institutions have great potential. For example, in business and management studies, which is one area in the QS rankings, many of our business schools have high potential to get into. Many of our law schools have high potential to get into the law school rankings, but it needs that kind of thought process. And we are lucky in some way that our Vice Chancellor, Professor Rajkumar, was, once he got into that thought process, he put all his energies and possible. You can't believe we increased our faculty size from some, say, 200 faculty members to 470 faculty members in last 3 years. We became the largest law faculty in whole of Asia. And I think a large faculty size, where we maintain a faculty student ratio of 1:8, is very, very helpful in production of research. Research output becomes very high, and that helps in international rankings.
Thank you, Anand Prakash sir. I think very interesting message that Anand Prakash sir has given, that a lot of potential universities now, though the gates have opened, but we have to gear up to compete and reach to the to a global standard, and we have to start focusing on, at least from now, so that we can, when the time coming, we should be able to compete with the global standards and set up global universities, recognized universities. Thank you so much for that, sir. My next question is to Mr. Vikrant sir. Vikrant sir, since we're talking about admission marketings, and so I wanted to know, what role do you think technology plays in managing all these aspects that we discussed during our whole conversation, like whether it is about managing the quality of the pool, whether it is about managing the demographic diversity or different diversities, and managing that we deliver to the right quality. And when we are talking about the industry and academia, we deliver the right to the academia. What role do you think technology plays in this, and how important it is for universities to evaluate technologies, and on what basis they should evaluate technologies to take care of these aspects, and so that they ensure that they are on the right on the right path of the development?
So, Vishal, very interesting question actually. See, right from the beginning, India was always a knowledge hub, and presently it is. We are catering most prominent, intelligent, and innovative leaders to most of the multinational companies across globe. It means we are having competencies, we are having intelligence, we are having that capital. But the only thing in which we are lagging is that digital transformation or the latest technologies which the advanced or developed nations are presently sticking to. I am extremely fortunate that I have worked during this COVID era, which took this digital transformation in India a bit early, maybe 5 to 7 years earlier. Our Indian students, Indian teachers, Indian faculty members, and rest of the people in country are sticking to this digital transformation. Now, how this has changed the mindset of people and students. Now, in this technology-driven world, people expect information in a real time. There are basically three factors. One is anytime, another one is anywhere, and third thing is at ease. Now, as this behavior patterns are changing of the Indian people, this digital transformation is playing an extremely prominent role in dissemination of education to the masses. So this is our duty to, introduce these digital platforms in the education. And thanks for this new education policy, which is very, very good in my opinion, majorly focusing on three things. One is skill development, another one is innovation, and third thing is entrepreneurship by using the technology, latest technology. Now, as we are generally moving forward in this field, this technology is helping people to impart them precise, accurate, and timely information, and that too is extremely qualitative. This is the information earlier the Indian masses were not able to get. Now, people from extremely remote area of, say, like Himachal, Laul Spiti, Jammu and Kashmir, or maybe from very remote part of Rann of Kutch or somewhere else, they are able to, get that qualitative information and education from global leaders, from prominent people across globe, from prominent academicians. So I would also thank these digital platforms or the technology partners like No Paper Form and other companies' digital platforms who are providing these scientific techniques to all the masses of India. And now they have got exposure that they can get the qualitative education, they can generate and develop their skill sets, and India can once again become the global master. So this is my concluding remark that this digital transformation has played a prominent and vital role in the dissemination of this rich knowledge and making the communication between real academicians and real teachers or real mentors and a rest of the people who are striving and looking for these kind of knowledge and information.
Thank you so much, Vikrant, sir.
Thank you.
Vishal, I wanted to add.
Yes, sir, please.
When we are discussing about the technology, I feel universities should, open to adopt the technology first, because some of the university leaders' mindset is like, they are okay with the old set of admission kind, or the system. They should be. I request them to, give a chance to technology. Just try once, because all these years, they are spending close together on marketing, or maybe print ad or some other kind of thing. Never tried digital. So now they have to try the digital marketing as well as the technology what is available in current situation. They have to make use of.
Very well pointed, MS Kohler, sir. So a message to all those who are still stuck with traditional practices, might be they want to give a chance to technologies and evaluate what difference it can make and make what ease it can bring to the admissions. Maybe Harivansh sir wanted to add something to this. Sir, your closing remarks for other universities to learn
So
technology.
I think digitalization and marketing, these are the two very important weapon in the armory of higher education institutions. But I think along with the technology, marketing, brand building, we need leadership, and good governance.
Absolutely correct, sir. Given the right set of technologies, it should be also governed and managed properly, and that's where the differentiator lies. Maybe Professor Anand sir would like to conclude his remarks for other universities and representatives who are here to listen and learn today. What kind of practices you as a corporate governance institutions would ask them to take as a takeaway, a learning from our today's conversation?
Vishal, it was a great session, and thank you so much for bringing it, and also having me. And I will say our entire focus should be on faculty appointments, faculty development, and if we can better the quality of teaching faculty and research capability in the campus in any university, as students, as scholars, they are going to be attracted and going to join. It's any other thing if the faculty, because I will share my experience. 30% of our class in law school, 30% or maybe more. I have a data, I'd say it may be 40% who are referred candidates. I tried to gather a data from where students came to know about Jindal Global Law School, particularly because I take care of law school only. I found 40% of our students were referred by some of our past students or faculty member or a parent. It's like whoever studied at our campus, our graduates, when they actually graduated and started working, or even their parents and the friends of their parents and the their relatives. Day before yesterday, I was attending a very important meeting in Delhi at Bar Council of India, and one of the deans of one central university, whose younger brother's child is studying at our law school, uh, met me and told that now my younger brother's child is studying in your BA program. I was not really aware that time 5 years back when my daughter studied law in my university. Now I want to send her for an LLM program in your university. Now immediately I thought, a dean of a central university law department who has good understanding and almost who is a veteran in legal education is having a feeling that my daughter has missed out an opportunity to study at Jindal Global Law School at undergrad level, so I should send her in the master's program. And it all has happened because of the faculty members who are teaching in the classrooms and inspiring students on daily basis, almost in every lecture. And those students, when they graduate, they spread. So my, last words for any university is to focus on the faculty members, whether in terms of recruitment or retaining them, or providing them all possible facilities and resources for their research and development, and also enabling them to go abroad to participate in conferences, to empower them in a way that they should be able to attract students from all over.
Absolutely. Indeed, a great point mentioned, sir. And I think a lot of representatives from other universities can take this point with them. And I'm sure it will be turning out to be a great learning for them. Mr. Dhaval, sir, your concluding remarks for other university representatives and other universities who are listening to us today. What are your viewpoints and closing remarks for the universities to consider while they're talking about their admissions or about the governance of the university? What are your closing remarks to them, sir?
Okay, so my closing remarks for all the universities would be that please add diversity to the campus. Other than that, we should always be motivated to bring in the technologies, because that's what we have been doing. And the more technology we bring, the more quality will be adding, because we'll be having a lot of data on which something can be done. I would rather quote the very famous statement by our Mr. Mukesh Ambani from Jio, that oil is the new data. I mean, the data is the new oil. And I would rather confirm and believe that this is going to be the future. As the third point, I would rather say that I would really appreciate what Dr. Mishra said, Professor Mishra said about like hiring faculty from a diverse locations, that is going to add the quality to the university. And yes, please open up to diversity beyond India. We should definitely hire as much nationalities as possible, because the more we cater to them, we'll get to know about the global standards, the global requirements of a student, and it will also help university to improve its standards at par with global universities. I would definitely go with like the QS rankings, what we were discussing, like every university should go for QS ranking. I'm glad, and I would congratulate OP Jindal for being the torch bearer for the Indian universities, and we would definitely soon be coping up with you, and we wish all the universities present here would be going for QS very soon. The other thing I would like to say that is more and more student-centric approaches should be made, and we should definitely emphasize on student satisfaction index. More research should be done on how higher education institutions in India can improve their student satisfaction index. So some study is required on this, and I would rather feel that such kind of studies would definitely improve the university's approaches towards its academics, towards its facilities, towards its available resources. And the most important part is that we should be very we should be ahead whenever there is a national event or wherever there is a possibility where we can represent India in all the possible places, including the QS. There are many other events happening in India, outside India. So I wish all the universities would definitely look for this kind of global approach. So these are some of my points, Vishal, which will definitely help all the universities in days and months to come. And as we all know about the national education policy, I really would say that definitely we should go and set up a campus abroad. And we should go with the initiative of Made in India initiative what we have, and we should definitely go with this kind of approach, like the vocal is local is vocal kind of things. So obviously when we set up a campus outside India, that is, we are going to go more and more become Atmanirbhar. Rather than an import oriented economy, will become an export oriented economy. So these things will definitely help us. So thank you very much, Vishal.
Thank you, Dhaval sir. Very interesting points mentioned, and thank you for your concluding remarks. And maybe at last, MS Kohler sir, what are your concluding remarks for our viewers in terms of the
So
admissions, in terms of the brand building?
my concluding remarks will be we have to involve more young people into the system of our university, and we have to adopt the technology, and our marketing or any strategy should be content oriented, and it should be relevant to the current trend, and it should be time bound, and we should have a strong alumni network, which will be it will bring more student or more loyalists to our this thing. And as you said, QS World Ranking or NRF, we should actively participate in that. That is the more and we should have incubation centers. This is what I observed in most of these things, which is missing. Incubation centers, so where we can encourage our students to start their own. We can encourage them to become entrepreneurs, so that we can have some type with MSMEs, so that even funding, seed funding can be arranged from MSME. These few points can be adopted in all the universities.
Thank you so much, MS Kohler sir, and we are glad, and thank you for all the learnings and uh, the learnings that you have shared, and for me as well as for all the viewers today here. It was very interesting conversation that we had, and I think we'll have some of the other points to take away from here and implement it to be to deliver better to the industry. And we as No Paper Forms, on behalf of No Paper Forms, really thank you all for coming here and sharing your valuable insights and learning for the other institutions. And we are happy that we partner with a lot of institutions and we are part of this journey, a co-creating journey. We're really happy about this, and we wish to seek your continuous support and learnings from you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to each and every faculty, and it's really an honor to be moderating this session. And in fact, it's a great learning for me for today here. Thank you. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done, Vishal. Very good discussion has happened. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Thank you so much to our eminent panelists for your time and for sharing those insightful stories and knowledges. And it was wonderful hosting you. Anand sir, Harivansh sir, all of you. Thank you so much. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving forward to our next panel discussion. This will again be focusing on the admissions and marketing strategies for higher education institutions. With that, I'd like to welcome on screen our stellar panelists, starting from Dr. Indranil Mana, Vice Chancellor, BIT Misra, Dr. Vidyanand Jha, Acting Director and Dean, Kirloskar Institute of Advanced Management Studies, Pune, Professor Sujoy Biswas, Director and CEO, Techno India University and Techno India Group, Ms. Bhakti Shah, Director, Outreach Kriya University, Dr. CLV RSV Prasad, Alternate Chairman, GMRIT Governing Council, and Principal, GMR Institute of Technology. The moderator of this session again will be Mr. Vishal Tiwari, Zonal Manager at No Paper Forms. Mr. Vishal, over to you. You can take over the panel discussion now.
Thank you, Rahul. And I once again like to welcome all the esteemed panelists to today's session. And today we are here with you and speakers coming from India's esteemed corporate funded or governed universities and institutions. And today, together, we would like to understand and learn that how do these universities and institutions strategize for their admissions and marketing. So in the previous session also, as we discussed, that there are close to 900 plus private universities, private and public universities across India. And since we are talking about corporate funded universities today, so there is a lot of discussion that we would want to understand how, because corporate have a basically they have a different style and they have a complete different understanding and the working model that they work. And then Indian institutions are basically the ones who are involved in nation building. So we want to understand how these universities, which are backed up by corporate learnings or fundings, how do they run the show, and what is in it for other universities who can learn today from overall conversation, and how it can be helpful for them to do their admissions and marketing strategies. So continuing to discuss that, I would like to go on to Professor and Dr. Sujoy sir to start with his to begin with his experience of working with a university, and how do they strategize and around this admissions and marketing for the university and institutions.
Thank you, Vishal. It was nice listening to you because you were there in the previous session too, and you moderated the session excellently, brilliantly.
Thank you so much.
In addition to being a director and CEO of Techno University and Techno India Group, I'm also the lead. I'm the anchor of a celebrity talk show of the town in one of the channels. So I know how the anchoring, how difficult it is to anchor with people of reputed genres. Now, I am in the university for the last 13 years. So it has been for a long time with the group for 13 years. And the university is now 9 years old. So a lot of perception about private universities in West Bengal was not good. I do not know of other parts of the country, but perception of private university. In fact, we get a lot of students with a lot of funds who are willing to give a lot of funds for being in our colleges, but initial days for the university was very hard. So we actually concentrated on one thing, and that is the ultimate truth. What is the ultimate truth? The ultimate truth is that in order to have to brand the educational institute, the alumni should be good. The education should be good. The faculty should be good. There should be iconic faculties. So we wanted to make a difference, and we made the difference by making it a criteria that all the faculties of the university, I am saying since the perception of the private universities were not good, we wanted to give a direction that our faculty should be either PhD holders or PhD pursuing people, so that we can say all are into the research mode of work. Because a university, like a college, does not make a name by employing students, by giving employment. The standard of the university is actually, the university is ranked by means of its research and development. And I am proud to be a part of the doctoral research committee, and we do hundreds of researchers. So initial days were very tough. I'm telling, initial days were very tough. But at the same time, when students started speaking out that we are taking utmost care of them, it started growing. And that's one of the things that I just had to put a paper on it. But since you started with the question, how much is my time length? Can you tell me?
So you can have at least 4 to 5 minutes to speak about this.
4 to 5 minutes. So that's fine. Then I collate it in that universities are focusing on branding and marketing. But how does the brands come? The brands come through its students, its faculties, alumni, the infrastructure. So we should have the basics in place. These are basic. Any of digital marketing, hoardings, banners, posters, television ads is not going to work. It can work for means a year, a couple of years, but then that's going to die down. What was the traditional undergraduate recruitment programs? We knew that it was through the papers and the newspapers, mostly through the newspapers. Then it gradually shifted to televisions and then to the social media. Now whatever comes, we are asked to make it viral in the social media. Now, why it is digital is now appreciated, because it's more informed and structured investment, because from data to we get information. This is the data to information, that's what has, and we have to break down the barriers between marketing and admission, because marketing, is one step. Marketing is the tip of the iceberg, and this process should include digital as they're reaping benefits right at this point of time. To make the shift, increased collaboration through digital marketing and admissions need to change to make three cultural differences. The first one, align around a common business goal. So we should have a target that what should be the increase in the number of populace who applies for our courses. The second is put the data tracking in place from end to end. We have to track the data, that how many applications, you can have a view of how many people poked into your site, but not how many applicants were created. So that has, and a quick tempo, a shift to digital means more data is available. Both the groups need to more frequently analyze the data and change the course. For most schools, data reporting happens after the fact. Now, we know the advantages of digital engagement, that it increases the yield by influencing the funnel. And also another thing I have found from my functional experience, it helps a lot, is the clear directive in your websites. Actually, people before coming down physically to your campus actually visits the website, takes the feedback of the alumni, takes the feedback of the students. So we should be, if we are not catering to our basic, in fact, I'm a civil engineer by profession. I say if your foundation is not strong, the structure cannot be strong. So what will make the foundation? The alumni will make the foundation, the faculties will make the foundation, the infrastructure will make the foundation. Skill is very important. I keep on saying that skilling is very important. In order to have the skill, you should have the right kind of infrastructure so that they are employable at the end of the day. It says, the data says, statistics say 80% of the graduate engineers are unemployable. So in order to have that, even in university, skill is very important. I know that I don't have much of a time. So I'll just wrap up with that. What are the benefits of marketing and enrollment of working together? It saves money, it saves time, it gives immediate feedback from the market, and test ideas, collaboration among groups to test ideas and measure the impact. Now I'll just my last slide on last statement on making the shift in strategy and approach is exciting and also overwhelming for many schools, and in many cases it requires socialization from one of the. So if you are excited, the 4 ways to start the shift at your institution. 1, bring the data to conversion. Start the data with which have access to. Presenting even website data helps people start catching a vision, making data-driven decision, and it helps people start asking questions. The second one, use available analytic data to start educating admissions and changing the conversation. It's very necessary to make to give a counseling to administrative staff. In your analytic platform, marketing should be set up conversion goals on campus visits, lead generation forms, and application to help you start quantify the impact of the website or your counselor's call on the admission process. The third one, map the customer journey. Talk to the students about their research and decision-making process. You want to understand which content is important and different process and look to improve your way. And the fourth and the last one is ask for data and manually collate the data. Ask for data for admissions and try to relate it to the website. This may be annual, but it starts the conversation. So what are the futures look like? Marketing and admissions work together is a cultural change. It requires marketing to be more focused and better at using data. It requires admissions to be more flexible and work in real time, respond to people's needs. But when they work together, they can achieve the business goal of attaching students, increase revenue, and advancing the goals of institution. I'm pleased to share with you, in this pandemic, our number of admissions, trust me, I put it on record, has increased than the last year. So that is, and because we keep on believing, we kept on believing right from the pandemic start, and end with that poem on success, the last para of a poem on success called Don't Quit. It says, and I quote, "Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of clouds of doubt, and you never know how close you are. You may be near, but it seems so far. So stick to the fight when your hardest hit. It's when things seem worse that you must not quit. It's when things seem worse that you must not quit." Thank you, Vishal. Thank you for giving me the chance to uh, speak first, and I hope that I have set the tune for the rest of the panelists. Thank you, Dr. Indranil Manna. Thank you, Dr. Bhakti Shah. Thank you, Dr. Vidyananda Jha. Thank you, Dr. CLVRS Prasad. It was nice to share the platform with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sujay Biswas sir, and I think a lot of insightful and important points that you have highlighted. And while you were mentioning about that the students, while they come to you, they don't come to your campus first, but maybe they visit your website.
Right, exactly.
I have kind of theory that the students research online and purchases offline. That's though it's not just relevant to the it's a generic concept that before going to any institution they want to have a deep research done around the various institutions where the options available, and then filter out their possibilities, and then only rush into those options where they fit in better. Maybe with that point, I would like to go to Miss Bhakti Shah ma'am, and would request her to share her learnings that how corporate governed universities as Kriya University, how do they differentiate Kriya from other universities? What are the practices that differentiates them in terms of branding, marketing strategy? So yeah, that's over to you, Bhakti ma'am.
Thanks, Vishal. It's a tough act to follow after Dr. Biswas, but I shall do my best. So Kriya is just about 2 years old as a university, but our legacy is much older than that. So just for a little bit of context, the IFMR, which is a research institution, very a prominent research institution in Chennai, is that's basically a part of Kriya University now, and we have the Graduate School of Business at with IFMR, and we have the School of Interwoven Arts and Sciences. So we have a business program, and we have the liberal education programs that we offer for the undergrad students. There's a lot to sort of. I'm very aware of panel size and the time constraints, so I'm going to try and sort of make this as compact as possible. I think one size does not fit all, to be very honest. I think it's really interesting to see the kind of universities that we have on this panel. There are all kinds. You have BIT Mesra, which is a very different league of university. You have Kriya, which is a newer private university. And then you have, the Technova, and you have so many different kinds of universities here. So I think let me set the context that I don't think any one strategy works for everyone, right? And there is a philosophical answer to your branding marketing approach, and there is a tactical answer. And I think your philosophy of the organization then guides your tactics. So fundamentally, if you look at Kriya University, we are founded by global academicians, by industrialists. So we are not governed by any one corporate. We have a massive governing council, which is the world's leading industrialists and academicians come together, like Mr. N. Vagul, Dr. Raghuram Rajan needs no introduction, Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, Anand Mahindra, and John H. Mendy, who was he was a provost at Stanford. So we have a think tank that really guides the principles of how we operate, followed by a leadership council and an academic council. So our leadership structure is very layered and it's very nuanced. And therefore, it's not governed by any one corporate or one philosophy. The only philosophy and the principles that we have, and there are 4, and it's important to talk about this: ethics, excellence, inclusivity, and accountability. The reason I'm talking about this is because this is what guides everything we do when we talk about outreach. So we don't have the term marketing department at Kriya. We don't have a marketing department at Kriya. We have an outreach department. And the purpose of this team is to really go out there and let students and parents know that this is an option. This is what we do. And and we don't hard sell, because I think to a very large extent it is about finding the best fit of kids for us. That is our priority. So if the student finds our programs attractive, it's important to get the word out there. So it's important to get in front of as many students and parents and schools as possible, to talk about the differentiators, which is our very credible leadership. We don't have alumni yet for the undergrad program. So, that's one challenge that we have at this point, but we're getting there very quickly. Our first cohort should graduate next year. So with all that being said, in a nutshell, our marketing strategy or our outreach strategy is really to spread the word out there, and to ask ourselves before we take up anything, we ask ourselves just one question: are we adding value to the person who's going to be listening to us? If we are sitting in front of a group of parents or students, are we talking about our infrastructure and our Olympic size pools? And are we talking about air conditioned classrooms? Because everybody has that pretty much these days, right? That's not adding value to them. How are we building skills for these students? And how are we collaborating with K-12 organizations, with schools, to really prepare these kids to be able to come into Kriya University, where they can be actually offered admission? So I will just end it there. I know there are a lot of questions to follow, but that's my opening remark.
Thank you so much, Bhakti ma'am. Moving over to Dr. Indranil Mani sir, and maybe so my next question to you is, while we are planning for outreach and other brand building activities, and being as we're talking about the corporate governed universities and corporate funded universities, and how I see is a lot of learning is being derived from the parent organizations or the working style and structure. So what kind of KPIs and structure, or the collaborative team building for this one particular process, that is admissions or something? How do you plan this team who is responsible for giving the right message out to the people and making sure that we are able to reach out to the right set of people and engage them and convert them to be a part of the institution? And what are the KPIs that we set, or kind of goals that we have while planning these activities?
Well, Ms. Tiwari, I must admit that I probably am not the best person to deliberate on the points that you're raising, because this is my 36th year in the profession, and I'm a part of the so-called corporate governed universities only for the last half a year. But whether I'm a part of the government institution or self-financed or private institution, the fact remains that, number one, knowledge, the principal theme of academic institution, is not a commodity for marketing. Knowledge actually is an enabler. Knowledge creates opportunity. So any academic institution, whether in private sector or government sector, basically should worry about knowledge which actually can enable and empower the students. So I would also add that reputation is like a magnet to the iron particles. If you are very well reputed, then the students, the parents, the industries, the stakeholders automatically will be very keen to come and associate themselves with you. And we are in a time when the students are much smarter than what we used to be at the entry point. Today, they are very well versed with the modern technologies and information and data, and they make their decision not just by what the parents say or what one of the elders would have told him or her, but they actually look into the prospects. And the prospect essentially is related to the career path or the career opportunity. And the career opportunity essentially is not just job, but it also embraces the future studies, the higher studies, the scope of entrepreneurship, scope of value addition to their personality development. And it could be also, it's actually a multifaceted enablement, which will allow an individual to try different career options. Obviously, for an institution which is very recently established, these parameters are going to be different, and certainly it will be a challenge for them to make themselves as a destination which most of the students would like to pursue. But borrowing from my own experience, because I have served for 35 years in an institution which is the oldest among the higher education institution in the country, and also am now incidentally part of an institution which also can claim to be the second oldest institute of technology. So we have a more than 65 years of history. And obviously we are ranked among the top in the country. So our perception is slightly different, and what we would like to bring to the table is the fact that I always have believed, and I'm sure every right-thinking person also would agree, that the certificate that you display can be signed by anybody other than yourself. So essentially, it's the society which actually gives you the brand name, gives you the brand value. And the society essentially is not just the stakeholders, even onlookers who would like to compare you with the best. So how do you prove yourself to be best? In fact, I must also admit, Mr. Tiwari, I'm not quite familiar with some of the jargons used by you. So I had to do a bit of Google to figure out what is this KPI. So essentially, the academic institutions are judged by the reputation built over the quality of output in terms of the alumni, the students, the quality of faculty members that we have and that we used to have, and most importantly, the quality of research and educational output that we bring out. So it requires, in turn, is kind of interrelated. Unless you have good faculty, good students, your output will not be good. And unless you have very good output, you won't be able to attract the best of the talents for your teaching and research community. So I would say that any institution, be it young or relatively older, essentially should worry about the quality of output and the quality of education that we can offer in the campus. Diversity helps, foreign component attracts, infrastructure is essential, quality of manpower is absolutely important. But the most important thing is that we must know that we are carrying out not necessarily a business, but essentially a service to the community, service to the society, whereby we are trying to develop the youth, enable them, empower them for the future. So the career prospects. I think I'll end here, but if I get an opportunity, I'll come back. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Niril, sir. And I think important points that I've noted, that it's the quality of the students and faculties is very, very important. And that brings me to my next question, maybe to Dr. Vidyanand Jha, sir. That since as an institution, we, as in the last panel also we discussed that we are basically a medium to process the raw material, which is students, where we get into our institutions, we give them, impart knowledge and skills, and we make them industry ready. So I think there is a lot on the intake side while we want to bring the right set of students with the right set of skills so that we can work on them, because there are basic some requirements that we'll be looking while we want to make them industry ready. So we would want to, figure out those kind of applicants, those kind of students who we want to, we would like to, work together and make them industry ready. What role does technology play, and how are we able, what are the other aspects that we, other universities who are focusing on similar aspects, can focus on and ensure that the right set of people with the right set of skills are taken inside the campus, and they are admitted and being prepared for the industry?
Yeah, thank you, Vishal. Actually, the question is little lengthy. So if you allow me some time, I would like to cover few points and then come back to your actual question.
Sure, sir.
See, Few things which I think I would agree to Dr. Indranil also, and I would also like to tell. As a corporate business school, when we look at the education, business school, when we call business school, we don't consider this as input-output process, because then it becomes manufacturing plant. Because our raw materials, which normally in the market people call raw materials, these raw materials are already nurtured for say 18 years in the schools and their graduation. So we do not have much of the control over there. So when they come to any institute, what we can do for them is that if our philosophy as an institute is to nurture them to be able to be a socially responsible and skilled manpower for the society, is what we can do. So when we look at student at our institute, when we are looking at institute student interaction, we are not looking at admissions. Basically, we have also changed our philosophy from calling it as an admission cycle or admission process to an engagement plan. And in the corporate, they say that if an organization can survive for 50 odd years in the business, it means that they have the basics right. And being from Kirloskar Group, so we are more than 100 years. And Kiams is more than 25 years now. So the basics, if your basics are right, like for example, you have approach towards quality education, you will find a difference. If you have an approach towards enabling the students when they come in to make them a better corporate citizen, you will have a process in place and they will get the right place in the corporate. If they are in the right place in the corporate, after some time they become your alumni and then they will come back to you saying that I am heading some organization. So if you look at our alumni base, they are doing good. So when they do good, they talk about, and when they are talked about, organizations are known. So if you look at from that angle, an organization in the corporate governed business school, basically from my perspective, should focus on the basic elements, which is like quality of education. Then when you talk about admission criteria, etc., you cannot filter a student when he is applying to you by filling up a form after writing an examination, which is called as CAT, MAT, ZAT, etc. Because there you are only evaluating him. You are not assessing him. There is a difference between evaluation and assessment. As an organization today, the need has been that with the help of digital technology, can you engage them much before they apply? And if you can engage them much before they apply and you can educate them to apply to a better place, you are doing a great job for them. They may not come to you, that's fine. They may not come to Kirloskar, they may go to any other institute. That's fine, absolutely fine. Because when they go somewhere, you have done a good job for them. So if you look at a microscopic perspective of intake versus conversion versus forms versus application, then it becomes a narrow objective. And then the entire university and business schools, which we have seen, are year-long running behind these targets. And they lose track on the basic core elements of an education institute. And if you can hold on to the core elements of education institute, you will find admission will no longer exist as a problem for you, because admission will become an output of your entire process. So tomorrow somebody is applying to your organization means he is very clear about that he is going to you. And if you have made that kind of mark in the space, then I think it is a good deal. So you should focus on the basic elements. Other things will fall in place. But if your basic elements are not good, you do whatever you want to do in other space. At the end of the day, your consumer experience in terms of raw materials, etc., will not be pleasant. So you will struggle again to keep them happy. So if you find today 80% of work is in managing perception and 20% of work is in conversion of the prospects. So instead of that, if a team can start engaging, they don't need to manage perception. If they can engage properly, perception will be managed. If they can handle core basics, outcome will be ensured. If the outcomes are ensured, you will develop a good ecosystem around your institute. That's how you can grow. That's what my take.
Thank you, Dr. Jha. In fact, I would like to ask for our audience that we've talked about engagement, and that plays a very, very critical and important role that people call as stickiness. Basically, when they apply to you and we want to engage them. So, what are your strategies around engagement as a corporate funded university or institution or corporate governed institution? And how does technology help you here to keep students engaged and you ensure that they turn up to you?
So you want me to answer?
Yeah. So it's a question for you.
Okay. See, if I look at this, what we do is what I will tell you at the end. But if I look at how institutions should do in the coming space and with the type of changes which are happening today, the focus has to be broadened. Engagement means what? If you want to keep your core elements ready, you are supposed to have a very good team of faculties. So a team of faculty will get engaged to you if you have good research publications happening, if you have good outreach programs in terms of research publications happening, you can connect with the good resource people. Number one. If you would like to connect with the students, you will have to find out that can you also move beyond and see beyond the coaching institutions. Please don't mind saying this, but if I can connect to engineering students or a graduate students in their premises to help them to develop certain skills, I think that is a better outreach program than getting into a clutter of this lead versus application versus conversion. Because then because you have a small pond. If you look at that CAT aspirants and the people who are applying for CAT today, you have a small pond and there are 1,000 institutions who are doing the same job. So how will you be different? And technology can help you. Like, for example, say you are at different location, I am at different location, Dr. Indranil is sitting in Ranchi, and there are other panelists who are in their office, and we are still talking, and there are so many people listening. This is one aspect of how technology can help you. Earlier, people had not explored this, but today you have AI, you have IoT devices, you have chat box, you have so many other ways of connecting to the prospective students much beyond the admission cycle. So if you can use those technology and connect with them and be a knowledge partner for them, not what you say, market partner, be a knowledge partner with them, I think that will help. That is what is my intent.
Thank you, Dr. Jha. Thank you for sharing that insight. And maybe I'd like to ask Bhakti Shah ma'am and then to other panelists also that what are the mediums or channels which you feel are effective for higher education marketing in today's time, the outreach in today's time, and which are those traditional means or old school strategies which have now turned obsolete or less effective as compared to the trends that are observed in the modern outreach activities that you're doing for your university in today's time?
So I think the channels are similar and different depending on UG or PG. Let me speak about UG first, our undergrad program. I think it is very important for us to reach directly to the stakeholder, which is the parent and the student. We do not work with agents. We don't work on enrollment basis, commissions. Those things don't work for us. And therefore, I think it's important to, if you look at it from a funnel perspective, there are multiple channels that fill your top of the funnel, right? You can get in front of a school for a career fair. You have, webinars. You have certificate workshops, which is something we are doing a lot of. So we are actually offering certificate workshops to school students. We have MOU signed with schools, with school bodies like the IB Schools Association of South Asia, where we are actually focusing on professional development for their teachers, as well as parenting workshops and certificate workshops for students, which are taken by our faculty. Now, these act very interestingly, as the pre-university prep courses, it's no guarantee of admissions to Kriya. Nobody can guarantee that. But, we're working on a credit-based system for the future. But at this point, it's about adding that value. So like I said in my point before, we're doing a lot of value-based sessions with students and parents. I think we're also talking a lot to independent counselors. So if you see, there's this new trend in the last maybe 5 years, half a decade, that there is a spurt of independent career counselors in the country who are talking to students, not just PG, but UG, actually more than PG. And they need information firsthand from universities. So that's another interesting aspect. We get approached by a lot of independent counselors. So we partner with them. We empower them with not just information, but also, again, skill-based workshops. I think these are fairly new strategies in the space of UG admissions. The rest of the engagement methods are largely digital. We strongly believe in engaging through digital technology. We strongly believe in customizing messages based on the cut of the data and the demographics and what are the sources, where has the student come in from, have they heard about Kriya through a career fair, or have they heard about Kriya through a banner or a landing page. What we don't do is paid advertising in terms of banners. We don't partner for the undergrad program. We don't partner with vendors for lead generation. We largely rely on school outreach and counselor outreach. So that's one massive difference. I think that's something that we do very differently compared to a lot of other universities. Yeah.
Thank you. Very interesting highlight, ma'am. In fact, a lot of new aspects that you have highlighted for those who are watching us for UG admissions and all this. So thank you for that. Maybe I'll move to Dr. Prashad to share his views on the outreach and other activities related to admissions that they're doing. How has technology helped them? How, and what is the strategy around doing the outreach activities? Which are the newer mediums that that you would have evaluated in the recent times, and a couple of mediums that would have turned into obsolete or lesser productive? Dr. Prasad, your insights over the same.
Yeah, thank you, Vishal. To set the context with the background of my institution where I work for. I work for GMR Institute of Technology, an institution, not an university, backed by GMR Varalakshmi Foundation, the CSR arm of the GMR Group of Industries. So GMR is into the airports, energy sector, and is an infrastructure company. Now here, having said that, our institution is not a university, but an affiliating university, but still backed by a corporate. So the strategies that are needed for an institution backed by a corporate, the strategies that are needed by a university backed, corporate backed university would be different, because there are certain limitations with regard to the way and the model of operation of the institution and the university, as you know that. So we being in the state of Andhra Pradesh categorically, so we being in affiliated universities, our admissions are 99% controlled by the respective state councils for higher education. So here we don't have that the liberty of taking our own students by conducting our own selection process and so on. How good and in what way we do as far as an institution backed by the corporate, bringing in the best practices that exist elsewhere, and making the institution one of the preferred institution. But still, we don't have that, the scope of doing certain things with regard to the governance, the state regulatory issues. So having said that, though it is an institution, the strategy what normally helps for institution like us backed by corporate, it could be that completely process-driven systems. So one of the best and the important advantage that any corporate-driven organization or an institution will have is the SOPs. Everything, there is an SOP there, and obviously it makes the people more simple, And then when once the SOP is there, it makes more transparent. And transparency is that which is mostly liked by the all the stakeholders of the any academic institutions for that matter, it is university or institution. So that is one of the basic difference, process driven. And apart from that, the technology intervention, whether I really need that level of technology or not, an institution backed by corporate will always have a better edge when compared with other affiliating institutions. So if you look at, we work on SAP. I do not know how many academic institutions work on SAP. So apart from SAP also, and another one is a completely an integrated campus management system, starting from end to end, starting from admission to the exit. Everything is completely systematically prepared so that the total process is user friendly, more interactive in nature, transparent, and every stakeholder, from the primary stakeholder to the external stakeholders, everybody will have that visibility of the things, what's happening in the institution. What is happening, everybody knows. It is something like a walkthrough. So that is what one advantage we have as far as the institution being backed. And the other one is any institution is to be known by its robust selection process in general. The selection process for the students, the institution is to be known by that. And the type of the resources what they have, the type of the research what they do. It is not just buildings and campus, very beautiful campus doesn't make any difference. So as you rightly said, the key performance indicators are those indicators where need to be spoken by the stakeholders. And the stakeholders are the ambassadors of any institution for that matter. And a robust interaction with the stakeholders is possible with the corporate background. So these are some of the various advantages that an institution gets if it is being backed by a corporate, which will be a differentiator when compared with the other institutions among the equals. I mean to say, for example, institutions run independently by a separate society or run by a corporate. And another point I'd like to make here is, earlier speaker said that uh, uh, we need to look for making the students industry ready. And I would like to concur with the opinion of Dr. Indranil sir, where the institutions are not those to produce people to suit one industry. We make people employable. The real meaning of employability means making them capable of learning. We don't customize. They are not tailor-made. Institutions are not tailor-made. I cannot make the students to suit to one particular industry. But one disadvantage of corporate backing I look at is, wherever we have corporate, we look for sustainability. Whenever we look for sustainability, they look for exact mapping of course mapping, skill mapping, and career mapping. The things doesn't happen so automatically in the education sector. That type of mapping can happen in an industry. But if you drill down and ultimately implement that type of thing, sometimes this not that so balanced by like just like a mathematical equation, skill mapping, course mapping, and ultimately we will not end up in producing a student suiting to one particular industry. That doesn't happen. So that is the flip side of the outlook of a corporate outlook when compared with a person coming from industry. Because I am there almost for more than 3 decades, 15 years working in a normal backdrop institute and 15 years working under a corporate backed institution. So that ultimately makes me that there are very good advantages. At the same time, if they are not being cautiously leveraged, sometimes the things may get boomerang. And also the legacy of the corporate also, sometimes it will be a problem. The legacy, instead of adding advantage, sometimes it will give a negative what is that impact. So should be very carefully strategized for admission, for publicizing, and then getting into all the stakeholders and sensitizing all the people. I think with this I'd like to set the context on this.
Interesting conversations, Dr. Prashad, and context. While at one point, usually there is a, as you mentioned, that with the corporate backed institutions, there is a kind of attraction that the student has that once I go into this institution, I'll be definitely having some the outcome driven there is a surety kind of that, or rather that's a comfort that we get while getting admitted into a corporate institution. However, the other perspective that you shared is that the responsibility of institutions is to basically, educate them to consume the knowledge and skills, educate them with the skills and knowledge so that they can go out and consume as per the requirements of the industry, and they are ready to go into that zone. A very, very interesting conversation, and maybe a point to ponder upon, that how should we look at presenting ourselves to the student and how it impacts the student decision making. Also, one important question I had to you, sir, is last year we got stuck with COVID-19 pandemic, and a lot of basics have changed. So, how did you navigate during this time, and how easy was this on the institution level? And what are those practices that you adopted in this pandemic time, and maybe you would want to continue, it forever in coming? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the online education is on the almost buzzword now, and the pandemic has given a complete different dimension altogether for the education sector, I should say. And in the last 12 months, I do not know, a lot of startups, particularly for online education, have been mushroomed, I should say. A lot of startups have come. It has become a very good business opportunity. There are many industries that have gone to dogs. A lot of disruption happened. At the same time, there are many industries have made 10x business during this pandemic. Having said all these things, one of the industry that got badly hit is conventional institutions that offer conventional education, apart from the private institutions where they deal with the I'll say on quotes elite students, because elite students are those students where they start learning with a Kindle or with a laptop or with an iPad on the hand. But in the context of the Indian backdrop, and working for an institution where I am there located in the poorest of the poor districts in the country, Srikakulam. And here, 70% of my students are from BPL, below poverty line. When I have the students, yes, I need to push because I can't keep the students idle during the pandemic. But when you look at the effectiveness of the so-called online, until unless the students are properly equipped with IT infrastructure, they don't have even a desktop or a laptop at home. And I cannot take mobile as a complete full-fledged mode of learning for online. Mobile can be like a stopgap. For example, I'm traveling and somewhere got stuck. I'm not before a laptop. I can use mobile for the matter of half an hour or 1 hour time. But I cannot make completely mobile as my primary learning device. Mobile is a stopgap. In that scenario, we had, I should say, a very tough time in managing the situation, because I told you, we deal with 70% of the students coming from BPL, and in a class of 60, hardly 5 to 6 people have a laptop. But still, we have made some sort of engagement, and because we have a community radio on the campus. We have the community radio on the campus. We use the community radio to a certain extent to give lessons to the community radio, only to that region 10 kilometers radius. And we have given entire learning content available on the website. That is one unique feature. What is it we have done during the pandemic is we have our own all the courses available on our LAN on the campus if the students are there on the campus. Now that the students have gone to their home and they are completely spread across, without any restrictions, without any credentials, we have made all our more than 350 courses spread on all our 8 different programs freely available to the students. Learning content is made available. We have made it available, and that's what we have done. So that is that where we could able to succeed in mitigating the problem to a certain extent. Anyhow, for listening classes, teachers managed with the mobiles. Even there, for that matter, taking online class is also a big challenge for the teachers. Teachers are not used to the online classes. They never had a habit of taking classes online. Even that is a problem even for the teachers. Preparing the content suitable for online classes is again a big problem. So everybody's in crossroads. Whatever that stuck to the mind, they made it. Finally, we could able to manage in seeing that the students are engaged. And finally, when the lockdown, unlock started coming in from the month of November, December, and all, finally we could able to come back to the normal. And February 1st onwards, all the students are back on the campus.
Great.
So almost it got delayed by one semester, but it is a good experience, a worthy experience, and where there are a lot of learnings are there, where we realized that in the technology front, what are the drawbacks, what is it we have on the campus, what are the things to be done on priority, and also enhancing the bandwidth, particularly for getting connectivity. All there are a lot of learnings which made, and in fact, this will be a very good learning exercise for us down the line. And as told that online classes in the our context basically can only supplement the conventional things. It cannot replace the conventional teaching. It can supplement and complement.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Prasad, for sharing your learnings and insight, and it will be helpful for a lot of our audience also. Maybe Dr. Indranil sir would like to, looking at this time, maybe he would like to share his experience of navigating through the pandemic times, and what are key learnings that he would like to share from his personal experience for other institutions to be carried forward for the times to come.
Yeah, thanks. This pandemic actually threw a challenge to the entire globe, not just one region or the other. One thing I certainly would agree with Dr. Prasad is that the distant education tools or mass education tools can only be a supplementary device. They cannot be the primary mode of education. See, I'll pose a very simple question. For example, a patient who is suffering from cancer needs immediate treatment. Would the relatives ever be willing to go to a doctor who has been entirely trained by distant education? Will a person who actually has just retired and using his hard-earned pension fund would like to build a house, will he engage an engineer who has been trained, a civil engineer who has been trained entirely by online education, or will a government give a job to those who are entirely educated by online and ask them to build an aircraft? So the question is that in a situation where you have no other option, where leave alone attending classes, even going out of the home was prohibited, then what do you do? And this kind of challenge actually pushes you to the brink of your ability, and that's when you come out with innovative solutions. So I would say this has forced us to look at the scenario in a half-filled glass syndrome rather than half-empty glass syndrome. So given the challenges and difficulties and threats around, how would you still continue to teach? How would you still continue to pursue your education? So we have learned in last 10 months or maybe a year's time that various tools, including the online platforms, certainly can help. How? For example, you don't have to just look at the pandemic era. Even 10 years ago, I must say that the distant education programs in India, one of the most successful program has been the NPTEL program. If you ask students who graduated from not the higher education institutions, meaning not the IITs, NITs, or IIMs and so on, who studied in not so very well-reputed institutions, if you ask them, how did you study your mechanical engineering or your electronics engineering? If you probe a little deep, the answer will definitely reveal that apart from the classroom teaching, apart from the assignments, laboratories, the student must have also heavily relied upon the courses available freely on the net through NPTEL program. And Government of India came up following NPTEL also with SWAYAM and recently the Spark program and so on. So these are free course modules, lecture modules available in the net. So anyway, whether you are doing teaching in classroom or not, these tools are very, very helpful. So I would say that digital platform certainly can supplement but cannot substitute education, particularly in the professional degree courses like engineering, medicine, and similar other things. Now, talking about how to reach out, I think the whole of the discussion probably is centered around our urge to reach out and reach out so that the best things happening in our campus can be disseminated to the community. You know, as I said, that you don't write your own certificate, but there are people who actually look at you. What do they look at? I'm talking primarily from a technological institution's perspective. If your institution has created a technology which is selling in the market, say, for example, during the pandemic period, if your institute has created a respirator or maybe a certain screening device or a sensor, which actually is so popular now is selling worldwide, you don't need even a website to even inform that. The whole world will come running to you to learn as to how did you do that. Next thing is that if you have among your alumni, if you have someone who is a global celebrity, and every time that person comes to the stage, the obvious question will be, where did you graduate from, or where did you earn your education? And immediately that particular institution, the alma mater of that particular celebrity, immediately gets huge amount of publicity. If you are directly connected with not just one, but multiple industries offering consultation, offering executive training programs, and allowing the students to earn certain non-credit or credit uh, uh, amount by visiting and getting trained in those institutions, the students who are yet to come would automatically look at it and say that, oh, if I join this institution, then I get an opportunity to do an internship in that particular industry. So that will add value to my, if that institution similarly has a joint PhD program with a very reputed institution abroad. So the scholars who wish to do PhD would definitely like to come to that institution, because apart from earning a degree, he or she is also getting exposure to a foreign university and a very different and adding proposition to his overall training. If a university offers a course which is unique, one of its kind, say, for example, these days, we all realize that most of our engineering graduates end up in the service sector, IT, finance, and so on. In fact, in BIT Misra, we are very seriously considering starting a new program on a combined program on quantitative economics, which will have data sciences, statistics, finance, and various other concoctions. So essentially, a course curriculum which doesn't exist today and which has a huge demand in the market. So obviously, students will be very much interested. Similarly, if you have a teacher in your faculty who is so renowned because of a textbook he has written maybe 10 years or 20 years ago, that everybody studying mechanical engineering or electrical engineering refers to that particular textbook. So what I'm trying to say is that, you have to be aggressive in disseminating the information, but you cannot create a content. You cannot, write a story which is not founded in facts. So if there are facts which actually are so overwhelmingly impact making, then people obviously take notice of it. And today's world, the digital platform has a special value because the students of today, they belong to a different time frame, different timeline. So they are savvy with Facebook, Twitter, various social media devices, various networking organizations and so on. So they probably tend to believe more from those, though I don't belong to that particular generation. But I would say that yes, there is a value today for these various digital platforms, not just the website, not just the webinars or seminars, but beyond, which actually can, by one click of a mouse, can reach millions. So that's an intervention which probably many of us have to learn in course of time and leverage those. Just a few other things I thought I would just make a mention of them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Indrin, Manasar, and in fact, it was a really interesting conversation to listen, and thank you for that advice. Maybe moving on to the next round of question is, we in our last panel also we discussed that while we are planning our admissions marketing, admissions outreach, and also we discussed about how during the time of pandemic there was a gradual shift in the basics, how admissions were managed. Technology played a crucial role, and that brings me to an important question, because now that everybody looks up to technology and there is a huge acceptance of technology and people want to move. And while they're evaluating, I wanted to ask, maybe starting with Dr. Sujoy and then maybe two other panelists, esteemed panelists, that what are the factors that you actually consider while evaluating any of the technology partners or technology vendors whom you collaborate to work to achieve your objective? And yeah, so what are these key aspects that you evaluate while finalizing a vendor and or a technology partner, so that the other institutions can learn through that and they can follow it? Maybe Dr. Sujoy, or I think sir is not available. Maybe Dr. Bedanand sir, and then maybe Bhakti ma'am can add on to it.
See, Vishal, if you are talking about technology, technology is definitely an enabler. And my suggestion to all the organizations would be that technology will be always there. Technology was earlier also there. Maybe in the format of email or maybe in the format of text message earlier, and now in the formats might have changed. The way technology has given us support in terms of reaching out to people is tremendous. Organizations will have to take that as an enabler. Organizations should not depend upon technology to give them a strategy. So technology can be an enabler of a strategic outreach program of an institute. And when we are looking at the other part of the story, and if we would like to think on how we want to get engaged with these type of technology partner, the basic fundamental thing when we look at our institute is the level of commitment. Because we used to have a game called as Coco. So we do not want technology partners to be playing Coco in the entire ecosystem, because unless and until a technology partner helps us into enabling our processes and get accustomed to our end-to-end outcome, then what happens is it becomes one-time contract. It doesn't develop itself into a relationship, or it doesn't lead towards a partnership or a key partnership in future, or leading towards a strategic partnership. So mostly you will find that many organizations test and try a lot of digital marketing agency year on year, and then they keep on changing them. And that change is happening because there is a lack of understanding in terms of strategy of organization, and there is a lack of commitment from the technology partner. So as an organization, if these two things are together, like there is a good engagement plan and strategic plan from the organization side, and the technology partner comes and becomes a partner, not just a service provider, they become a partner and both commits to the organizational development, not just the leads or number of admission or intake, etc. Then you can move out from this focus of admission driven technology support to a strategic technology enabler organization. Unless we do that, I think then it will be transactional. Today we may use any technology, tomorrow technologies will change, new partners will come up, and then it will be a transactional thing. It will not sustain. We need to have strategic partnership. Commitment is something which is required.
Interesting point, sir. Co-creation, understanding, commitment, long-term vision, and, understanding about the institutions. These are few points that you highlighted for considering any technology partner. Ms. Bhakti ma'am, what are you would like to add some point to here?
Yeah, very quickly, before I get to this point of how do we select a technology partner, I think I'd like to talk a little bit about the impact of COVID on how we pivoted our strategy. I think this deserves a little bit more time. I think there were three major areas of impact, essentially, and they're all very, very symbiotic. It's important to not just look at how it impacted outreach or marketing, but how it impacted leadership, and how we work with our teams, and how it impacted pedagogy within the universities, because it all affects the other areas. So if we start with outreach, basically, here's you have these teams that are used to being on the road for 20 days a month. Everybody's traveling, meeting people in person, and overnight, that's not there. So it really forced us to innovate how we connect with our stakeholders. And I think there was a lot of creative formats. While there was massive webinar fatigue, there still is. There are 50 webinars every day that you're invited to, but the quality ones will stand out. And therefore, after the initial level of fatigue, people started realizing, how do you assess, which webinars to be a part of, what sessions will add value. And it forced organizations and universities to really think about content and what are they saying in those sessions, and the formats of interactions. I think breakout rooms within a webinar meeting format I think that was a great blessing, especially when you look at open houses and how intimate and interactive open houses should be. How do you replicate that on a technological platform? And I think we were able to do that really well, because in the time when people had not interacted with their classmates and their peers for months, we suddenly pivoted, and we bring out the breakout room format. Not that we pioneered it, but we adopted it very early on. I think, however, one downfall of this entire pandemic has one big downfall has been CAC. It's been very misleading because budgets were slashed. We ended up spending way lesser money than we usually do. But surprisingly, I agree with the panelist who earlier mentioned that in the last panel discussion, I think Dr. Biswas mentioned it, that the number of applications has actually increased even for Kriya this year, while the cost has significantly reduced in terms of budget. So the CAC is all over the place, which can be a little misleading for the management, because now we have to go back to some of our traditional forms of outreach. And the last aspect of impact on outreach has been, we expected, entire industry expected, that the kids who've decided to go abroad will now drop their plans and end up applying to Indian universities, which actually did not happen to the level that it was expected to happen. Many students actually stuck to their plans. A significant chunk of students stuck to the plan of going abroad. They dropped a year, etc. With impact, very quickly, impact on learning and pedagogy, I think the others have much better locus standard to talk about it. And Dr. Manna has already spoken about the hybrid version and the fact that it's not sustainable. We understand that, but we also understand that it is here to stay. The hybrid version of learning is here to stay, at least for a few more years, till everybody's back on campus. Hopefully that happens soon. And last but not the least, how do you motivate teams when they're working from home? How do you motivate remote teams who are not seeing you even once in 6 months? Now things have changed. So those were some of the challenges that the pandemic threw at us, which I think we've all managed to pivot. Coming to your question very quickly on how do you choose a technology partner, apart from the basics of the product itself and the UI UX and the features, I think Dr. Jha very correctly mentioned that it's about co-creating. I mean, are you evolving with the organization? Are we buying a cookie cutter platform, or is there a co-creation that's happening as we go along? Because products have to be dynamic, especially technology has to be dynamic. Is it insightful enough? Is it just transactional, the platform, or is it giving us the business analytics and the insights that we need from the data that is being operated within the platform? And that's some feedback that we've also shared with NPF, that we would want that it's not just about managing leads, it's about what do you do with that information, at the end of it? Not just how many applications converted and how many enrollments did you have, but other trends which go beyond demographics. And there are many such trends that can be actually curated from platforms like No Paper Forms. So that's what we're really looking forward to, and that's what we look for. And last but not least, commitment. Just fantastic turnaround time and commitment. So yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very important aspects highlighted. And before we take some quick remarks from others, and Dr. Indranil Manasar has some commitment and would like to take his concluding remarks for the session, and we'll then come back to others. So first, you, sir, Indranil, sir, please.
Well, I didn't mean to jump the queue, but honestly, I have a commitment. But
I understand, sir.
There's one important thing. First of all, I would like to compliment the organizer for coining this term of corporate governed universities. I said that 35 out of 36 years I spent in the so-called government circle, be it in CSIR or IIT or any other segment. In India, we must realize that out of more than 50% today of the students and the universities at the higher education level, tertiary level, belong to this so-called corporate governed or private or self-finance kind of institutions. So government of India actually is not just for government institutions. Government of India is for the entire country, the entire nation. And when more than half the population, and we take pride in saying ourselves as the youngest nation in the world with the lowest average age and more than 800 million people below the age of 35. So the biggest strength of India today is actually the young generation, the youth. And unless we have a very good mechanism of empowering and enabling the youth, then the country is not in a position to leverage the biggest resource it has at its disposal. Private institutions today, if they cater to more than 50%, there should be a very robust and a very effective scheme of the government to enable them to perform and contribute even better. Now, I'm speaking on behalf of the technological institutions or so-called professional course institutions. See, engineering is all about providing solution. Engineering is not only about publishing or patenting. So you say somebody, a very effective engineer, when that engineer actually is able to solve a problem either for a small locality or giving a global solution. Now, how do you take someone to that level that one actually can be a part of a creation of a global solution? So you have to go through stages. So for that, you need good infrastructure, good curriculum, good teachers who actually can uncover the subject, not necessarily just cover by rote. And most importantly, you have to create an environment where you are able to consider yourself to be equal. So, I must admit that my knowledge, my perception about the society was incomplete until the time when I stepped out of the government circle and decided to learn about the other part of the education sphere. And most of the engineering institutions in the country today focus primarily on the undergraduate teaching because they have very little room for playing in the research domain. Education is a coin with two sides. One side is teaching, the other side is research. So you either disseminate knowledge or you create knowledge. Now, the creation of knowledge or the research part is not so effective or not so significant in the private institutions because of various regulations which actually do not give them a level playing ground. So it is time that the government as a whole takes policy decisions where there is no differentiation. You actually treat them at par and go purely by merit, like who is able to contribute what. I'm not necessarily talking about funds. I'm talking about government regulations, government systems, which actually, in fact, I must share also my own experience, though not even a year old. the fact that in so-called self-finance or the corporate governed institutions, you actually enjoy better flexibility, better room, and also you see people who are not only more compliant, but are also very much willing to contribute. So that means you do have resources, you do have uh, a good vibe there, but you're not able to uh, harness the best of the talents available because of certain constraints which are beyond the capacity of the private institutions. So these are the things which actually should come to the fore. And if we really are honest and we want to implement to the letter and spirit of national education policy, then we have to have a mechanism where these institutions actually can play and at a level playing ground and can contribute to the best of their ability. So outreach, whether to an industry, to a government institution, to the entrepreneurial world, to corporate sectors, to universities and clientele abroad, not just within the shores of the country, even beyond. We can certainly, as a nation, can offer much better if we can create a platform where these corporate governed institutions can actually contribute shoulder to shoulder with the government funded institutions. So accountability is better because you know very well that your salary is not guaranteed next year unless you perform better. So the students also know that they are paying slightly higher fees, and they would definitely expect better service, better education. So the university has to, on that respect, do better. So there is an inbuilt guarantee for accountability, for performance, no room for complacency. So I think these are the certainly good elements which should be better utilized. And I do agree that the digital platform has a role and is going to stay in some form or other. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Dr. Indranil Manna. Thank you for your time. And we really...
So with your permission, can I please leave? Because
yes.
I have a... Thank you.
Sir, how do I say that? But yes, of course. Thank you for your time, sir.
And I really would like to compliment you and all the fellow panelists for their very erudite and important views.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a great day. And just because we have audience still intact with us, and I'd request other panelists to share the concluding remarks for our audience with us. And so what are the learnings that you would want them to take with them? And in terms of whether they are planning their outreach as a corporate government university, what
I think Vishal, Rahul, can you jump in here? I think Vishal.
Yeah, got stuck.
Yeah. You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, ma'am. I think there's some network issues. I'll check with him in just a second.
Hi, Rahul. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are. Welcome back.
Yeah, done.
Thank you, and sorry. I think there was internet bandwidth issue. All right, Rahul, maybe over to you, and we're just looking for a quick closing remarks by our fellow panelists, but I'll hand it over to you, considering the time and our audience.
No problem. Yes.
And I'd like to thank everyone. And in fact, it's a pleasure to be part of this moderating this panel, and a lot of learnings and insights I'll take with me. Thank you for your valuable learnings and sessions that you have shared. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishal, for
Thank
doing
you.
this. I know it was back to back for you. We were there when you were just finishing.
Yes, absolutely.
So, thank you. Thank you for this.
Thank you. Pleasure, ma'am. Thank you.
And one quick point I'd like to make out here is the pandemic has given a scope, as I said earlier, and blended learning is going to be the future in the education sector. Blended learning is going to happen. Whatever sector it is a technical education or a non-technical or a business or whatever is, right from nursery to the education, whatever you say, blended learning is the future, and it is a learning out of the pandemic. It is first. And another one is talking about your technology intervention in marketing and all. Technology intervention is there in two areas. One is in marketing and the other one is in operations. In operations also, technology intervention need to be looked at very careful, because when you look at for the operations, it is something like whether you go for you said that how do you select the technology partner. So you can go for a technology with a perpetual license, or you can go for a technology with your on a subscription mode like a cloud-based application. So when you say for a cloud-based application, you have a perennial cost that comes from every year. If it is a perpetual, it is a one-time, and ultimately you have an internal development team, and it's a completely like a one-time go. So there are two options available if you ask me for implementing technology for your operations, whether you go for a perpetual mode or a subscription mode. That means that is again, you need to look at who is bearing the cost. Is a one-time cost organization can bear. If it is going to be a perennial cost, obviously it need to be loaded to the students batch on batch. And the other one is marketing. Again, marketing strategies change every year. They'll not be stable. This year, marketing strategy doesn't work next year, because the stakeholders altogether are changing. Mindset is changing. Apart from mindset, state of mindset. Mindset and state of mind both are again plays a very crucial role for your marketing for admissions and attracting the stakeholders. I think that with this closing remark, I'd like to thank the entire team for giving us an opportunity to be a part of this program. Thank you, Vishal, and thank you, Rahul.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure hearing from you. Thank you.
And thank you for all the other panel members.
Bhakti ma'am, your closing remark, maybe you can take 1 minute.
Yes, very quickly. I think I just completely concur with what Dr. Prasad said, that hybrid learning or blended learning is here to stay. That's a no-brainer. I think what also a lot of marketing and admissions teams need to keep in mind is students are very smart. Parents are smart. They have a lot of options. You have to cut through the clutter, and you have to make sure that you're making sense. People can tell a marketing salesy campaign or a call from one that is really trying to counsel them into the right direction. So I think content marketing is very critical. That is one thing that a lot more universities should adopt. I'm not seeing too many universities do that. It's the same usual suspect universities of the 10, 12 universities that are dabbling in content marketing. But I think universities overall need to up the ante and really improve the quality of communication that they're putting out there. I think everybody deserves that. Students deserve that. And last but not the least, engage every part of your funnel. Very often we see that universities are so focused on the top of the funnel. They talk about we've got 30,000 leads and 20,000 leads. But the fact is, if you look at the MENT, you look at retention, and retention and MENT is not just in terms of numbers, it's more in terms of quality of students that you're losing through the funnel because your engagement is not strong. So the top, the middle, and the bottom of the funnel all matter. Even after enrollment, you need to make sure that you're treating the student as part of your ecosystem. So how you communicate with the student once he's joined your university, that internal communication is as critical as before they joined your university. Because remember, they are your client, they're going to graduate, and they need to have a good experience. So that's basically how I'm going to sum this up. And thanks, Vishal, for this, and thank you for inviting us.
Pleasure, Bhakti. Thank you for here.
And Vidyanand sir, your closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you. Almost everybody has said all the points, but I would just like to say only one point as a closing remark. That whatever you do it sincerely, with commitment, and maintain the quality If these three things you maintain in your academic institutions, I think the way forward will be easier. Otherwise, you have a lot of threats if you're not managing those things properly. So thank you for inviting me. All the best.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Vishal. Thank you for moderating this wonderful session. And you did a wonderful job. You did 2 back-to-back sessions. And thank you to all our eminent speakers for sparing some time out. Actually, you spared much more time than expected.
In fact,
I think you stretched by half an hour more.
Yeah, yes.
Correct. In fact, thanks to our audience and the panelists for
yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
They stuck around.
Thank you.
Yes.
And as a moderator, I really have a lot of points, and there were eureka moments, and there were points where I take back some learnings from out of the conversation. And as a educational partner, there's a lot of learnings that I could draw out of the conversation that I take back, and we ensure as we already are doing, and certain things that we'll be learning and delivering back to the institutions. Thank you for those valuable insights.
Thank you. Thank you.
And also, there's a feedback link in the chat box for all the audiences. Do share your feedback and help us understand how we can improvise our content and delivery. Also, do follow us on our social media handles to stay up to date with our upcoming offerings. Once again, thank you so much to everyone. Stay tuned, stay safe. Thank you so much.